Morning. As I look around the world in the condition I find it, I see two opposite forces occurring at the same time. And it's kind of interesting to see which force will win out in the end. I always err on the side of the optimistic view. But these two forces is the number one is the growth of popularism around the world. Most notably in the United States, but it's happening in Italy. There's some things, rumblings in other parts of the EU. Of course, parts of Southeast Asia have embraced this, essentially elevating the leader to the status of a demigod. A charismatic Christian minister just proclaimed that Trump sat on the right side of God and God in his throne, which was interesting because traditionally the right side was reserved for Jesus. But it's only apt in this process. And any particular leader is not responsible for this action. They're just the beneficiary. Short term, I hope. But it's part of problematic, disproportionate assignment of wealth and power. A few have been accumulating at the cost of the many. This is one force that doesn't seem to be losing its steam. It seems to be pushing to some calamity, some tumultuous event. And on the other hand is the growth of spiritualism. More and more, I believe that currently there's more awakened beings on our planet than there ever has been. A lot of this is availability of information. The same force, this information, internet, that's driving the other side, populism, depends on its growth from more and more people being exposed to its tenets. More and more pundits stirring up the anger within the populist base. And interestingly, this vitriol is developed towards people from the same country. The divide, the political, social, economic divide, and traditional enemies have become unusual allies. But again, unprecedented numbers of awakened beings. And I believe that it's snowballing, that more and more people are waking up. At the same time, more and more people are going to sleep. Going to sleep in that they're no longer vigilant for their own rights. They're looking to someone else to champion them. So today's episode, I'm calling it Echoes from the Future. Because these things that are occurring on our planet right now are echoing, reflecting the future. Which way will the pendulum fall? Will people continue to wake up spiritually? Indeed. Will people wake up from the nightmare of populism? Worshipping a leader and giving a leader the temptation to assume more and more power and control as they sacrifice their own personal freedoms, responsibilities, rights, which will will out. And is it even possible that both of these things will continue to grow at the same time? Espresso time. And for me, the echoes of the future portend this continuation. And this fits in with the diametrically opposed energies, illusory in nature, of course, ultimately, but they sure seem real while you're in the throes of them. So, an echo, you yell out in a valley or down to the mountains, and it's reflected back. And not unlike the workings of karma. As a world, we're both accumulating karma and witnessing beings being elevated to the point where they can start disposing of karma, not only their personal karmic debts, but much of the world around them. The more and more people that learn to utilize the violet consuming flame, learn how to absorb the karma without accumulating, without adding to their own debt. They suck it up like a sponge, but they know where the violet consuming flame resides within each and every one of us. It's available to all of us to utilize. So we suck in the karma. We bring it within, without it adding to the structure of who we are. We simply transport it inwards and present it to the altar of the violet consuming flame. This is ultimately where our power lies as individuals. It's within that the wisdom, the knowledge, the ability to have any effect at all on the greater world around us. So here we have these two forces. One force propagating, promoting karma. Everything comes at a price. When you refuse or confused or ignorant to your responsibility in this whole play we see before our eyes, the world as it appears to be. If you fail to participate on the level that's available to you, of course, you become part of the problem. So, this breakneck pace that life seems to be speeding up to will culminate sooner or later in hitting a brick wall. Here we go. This is the echoes from the future. The future, by definition, by nature, is not definable. No matter which fortune teller you go to. And fortune tellers primarily make their livelihood on giving back to you what they think you want to hear. All they're interested in is, for the most part, his payday. It's their way to survive. So we have to be involved in the temporal world. By definition, by existence, we have to be participating. For failure to do so will result in more and more karma. So, how do I, as an optimistic soul, find comfort in the conditions, in the echoes from the future that I experience, and all of us do? It's constantly bombarding us. The future is part of the ethers that surround us, just as the past, present, and future coexist in our momentary experience of love, light. It's all here around us. And this is where the witness, once again, what I call my silent witness, comes into play, because they're witnessing echoes from the past, echoes from the future, and accumulating more and more information for us to sort through on our own. I've said before, this witness is not vested in any particular point of view. It's just watching. It's just listening. So at any given moment, through the grace of this silent witness, past, future, and present is available to all of us. So can you maintain, how do I, let's make this personal, after all, there's nothing else. How do I remain optimistic in the face of so much negativity? Well, number one, I choose to see what I would term the positive, this great awakening that's enveloping us as a species. I look to this. This is what I celebrate. And I admit to some concern about the other side of the equation, this balance. But all I can do is watch, listen, and live. What will be so will be so. That's the nature of the future. And accepting and recognizing that it can't be any other way relieves, at least for me, relieves levels of concern with developments that I find troubling on the worldwide stage. But just as Arjuna was told in the Bhagavad Gita that life is a stage, we're actors on the stage, and our responsibility is to play our part the best that we can. So those of you that are awake, those of you that are awakening, those of you that hear the echoes from your futures, this eventual process of awakening and remembering what you've always known is happening in each of us at some level. Granted, it seems to be on an unconscious level. But it makes me think of Maslow's ladder. Sustaining life is the first few rungs. And going up the ladder, it's not until that you're secure in your sustenance of the physical body that mental processes become paramount, let alone spiritual concerns. That's another step up the ladder. So each of us are somewhere on this ladder. It seems to be that the common denominator is mixed. Look at people on both sides of the ladder, towards the top and down to the bottom, where they're worried about where tomorrow's food is coming from. Such is the condition if we but witness the world around us. So is there solace? Does echoes from the future offer solace to those of us that are concerned about events that we see occurring around us? Well, the future is not what will console us. If you're looking for comfort, reassurance, much less information, knowledge, or wisdom in the future, you're playing a fool's game. You're fooling yourself, probably into a state of complacency. That point where we just go, can't do anything. Yes, you can. I remember once understanding that each of us has a responsibility. Each of us can help by cleaning our own back porch, is the language I use. Our own storage place, our own junk piles. We can clean it up. This is certainly doable. Clean up your back porch, which I mean clean up your thinking, clean up your living, clean up your purpose for life. Clean up the illusions that are keeping you back. Illusions that are much closer to delusions. If you're experiencing any feeling of helplessness, you're being deluded. You're not listening to the moment. Each moment is complete and whole unto itself. Each moment offers unlimited opportunity to either participate, ignore, or begin the process of accepting your responsibility. Your responsibility resides here. From jhana yoga, in my case, through the processing of information to knowledge to wisdom. This is my work. And it's ongoing. There's always more information which can lead to more knowledge, which can lead to more wisdom. Infinite amounts of each. So, rather than shrug your shoulders, either you develop a protective layer and say, who cares? Or you play the victim, I'm helpless. Or you become an active participant in your own personal arena that you can affect change. So by bringing this in, by opening the heart, you're sending light It's interesting because opening the heart means opening here, but it also means opening here. This is the connection to Buddhas of the past, future, and present. The spiritual congress that exists. And this opens up as love and compassion and acceptance and denial of separation, division. So, how could it be hopeless? Even accepting that these two opposed acts are playing out on the world stage as I speak. Demagoguery, spiritual awakening. We can witness. We cannot predict. There's no such thing as fortune telling. We can't predict what the conclusions of our current world conditions will result in. But we can find comfort in knowing that even if the worst case scenario wins out, it too will change. Sometimes you have to take things away from people, personal freedoms, personal access to powers. You have to take them away in order for people to rediscover, to reappreciate, to refine these precious gifts that predecessors have sacrificed so much in for us to enjoy what we enjoy currently. Fear. Are you motivated by fear? Are you motivated by the recognition of the oneness of the universe? Which do you choose? Well, it's easy to be fearful, but fearful is the surrendering of your participation, your responsibility. Fear accumulates. Fear is irrational. And rationality, coupled with wisdom, coupled with selfless giving, coupled with love and devotion, can start to show you how elusive fear really is, until ultimately it can be banished from your existence. And it seems so simple. Embrace unity. There's no room for division, no room for separation. And coupled with the knowledge and the comfort that linear time is illusory. We have all the time in the world. Even though as we sit on the precipice of global warming. I've heard it suggested that human beings are evolving as a species to another level where they need a warmer environment, where the internet no longer exists. Our forms of communication, our forms of community, our forms of relationships are undergoing a transformation. They talk about intranet, the emotional connection between people. And I wonder, we've been intellectual beings, allegedly, although the facts might fly in the face, but intellectualism has reigned supreme, and emotionalism seems to be a direction that we're heading, instead of mind's connection through the feelings. And how is this on the hierarchy of things? Who's to say? We have to watch how it plays out. But maybe for the majority of people, their path to awakening lies more in an emotional level, compassion. The common denominator of the 4 yogic paths is compassion, devotion, celebrating through mantras, celebrating through sutras. And perhaps this condition is easier reached through the emotions than through mentality, through the intellect. Who's to say? These are all just speculations at this point, as everything is when you listen for the echoes from the future. It's just another way to reflect, another way to ponder, another way to cogitate, another way to meditate. So accepting the present, listening for the future, can remind us of our personal responsibility in our own journey, and how this seemingly selfish focus on ourselves leads to surrounding the world in love.